Going to where it all starts and ends, in the place where the truth jewel was built, Lloyd was continuously suffering. Both his mental state and body were in chaos after hearing the difficult dilemma he needed to face. Javier was still injecting mana into Lloyd's heart to alleviate the pain caused by the winter heart. Javier repeatedly told his master to please breathe, but Lloyd was continuously panting this time. Lloyd told the Truth Jewel, or the Aotearoa, that he had 2 lives, which he got from the Dragon King membership. He asked the Truth Jewel, "What if I die?" He asked, "What if I die once first?" The Aotearoa's response remained the same. It told Lloyd that it would simply be an event of the revival of the protagonist. Lloyd began to bargain once again. He asked the Truth Jewel, "What if I go back to Seoul? Wouldn't that mean I wouldn't exist in this place right now?" The Aotearoa told him that what he said was not the same as dying. Lloyd's heart started to freeze at a faster rate. Perhaps he had already given up on his life, as he was not supposed to exist in that place, and Javier was actually the true protagonist. The winter heart also sensed the increasing speed at which Lloyd's heart was freezing. The winter heart asked what was happening and why it was freezing so quickly. The winter heart said that Lloyd was a swordmaster and that he should be able to use his mana to stop the freezing somehow. Then a window notification popped up and informed the winter heart that what Lloyd was experiencing was a mind-related illness, and once those symptoms appeared, nothing could be done. The winter heart looked worried after hearing that. Lloyd's hope slowly faded, as seen on his face. Even though Javier was putting in much effort to pump mana into Lloyd's heart, there was nothing he could do when one party slowly lost hope. The Truth Jewel told Lloyd that it would repeat once more what it had said. The only solution was that either Lloyd Frontera or Javier Asrahan must die. Lloyd was sweating, and his eyes became empty because of that reply. The Truth Jewel emphasized that it was the only way and that nothing else could be done. The Frontera estate was still engulfed by the time freeze that Lloyd had placed on the whole estate. The skill popped up, and the place returned to normal as time started to continue on the estate once again. But Lloyd, on the other hand, was in agony as his heart froze at a faster rate. He could only clutch his chest while he suffered from the pain. Lloyd was panting in his bed, alone, with no one to see his suffering. Lloyd called the messenger and asked what the hellish kind of situation this was. He asked the messenger if it had called him to this world just for him to suffer. The messenger didn't say anything and remained silent, as it had no answer for Lloyd's question. Lloyd asked the messenger who it was. He also asked who they were, all the people who had brought him to that place. Lloyd, whose eyes were already empty after his desperate questions, still didn't get the answer he wanted. He asked the messenger if they were above God and the King of Hell. Lloyd asked if they had just put him into this simulation to have a good laugh while they fooled around with him. The messenger remained silent this time, but later it could only apologize. Lloyd could only grit his teeth in frustration. He asked the messenger if it was fun for them to see him suffer. Lloyd, or Kim Suho, told the messenger that they must want to say that the utterly weak Kim Suho would always end up in a pathetic state no matter where he went, and that the ill-fated would inevitably suffer an ill fate no matter where they went. Lloyd said that the system and the others were all ridiculous. He declared that nothing would stop him and that he would make everything he wanted come to pass because he was none other than Lloyd Frontera. The winter heart was silent, listening to Lloyd's thoughts about his friend, the messenger. But since Lloyd didn't get the answer, after all those efforts from the Merman Kingdom, to the Central Plains with the Centaur, to the Magentano Kingdom, and with the Elder Dragon Tyrannus, Lloyd was left empty. All his efforts had been futile, and he was lying down as if he were in a vegetative state. Lloyd's parents, who were worried, went to the chamber where Lloyd was lying, but Javier was guarding the place. Count Frontera asked Javier if Lloyd was still weak. Javier said that his master was still weak, and it seemed he had pushed himself too hard for a long time. Lloyd's mother asked Javier if Lloyd had found a way to stop all of the unfortunate events that would happen to the territory. To lighten the mood, Javier just smiled and said that his master had found a solution to all of them. Javier said that his master Lloyd was resting right now so he could stop all of those unfortunate events later. The Count didn't say anything and just looked into Javier's eyes to see if he was telling the truth. Javier's eyes were still, and they didn't flinch at all. It was as if he was telling the 100% truth. Maybe he had learned this from his master. The Count could only be at ease after seeing Javier's eyes. The Count said that he understood and asked Javier to please take good care of their son. The Count and the Countess walked slowly away from the chamber while Javier just watched them go. Javier's acting was a success this time. Javier was silent for a moment, maybe thinking about what he was about to say to his master Lloyd. Then he slowly opened the door to Lloyd's room and called his master. He slowly approached Lloyd, who was still lying down. He told Lloyd that he didn't know what the truth Jewel had told him about how he could solve all those unfortunate events. But he still told his master Lloyd that he believed in him. Javier, who looked worried, told Lloyd that he believed he would be the one to find the answer to all of it. Javier knew about the issue with the Winter Heart, so he told Lloyd that before he could solve all those problems, he first needed to survive in order to do so. Lloyd kept listening to what Javier was saying with an empty expression. Javier told Lloyd to please wait for a little while. With full determination, Javier told Lloyd that he would help him get up again. Javier's resolve was solid as a rock this time as he slowly left Lloyd's chamber. He was now acting as the main protagonist should, since he was the real protagonist. Javier started to question in his mind whether he would be able to accomplish what he was setting out to do. But Javier thought that there was no time to doubt himself because he could do it since he already knew the key. Javier said that he had seen the key countless times. What he meant by the key were the creepy and ugly faces of his young master from chapter 1 to the current chapter, those scary faces of his master that even scared demons and hell knights. He was now the embodiment of the best master manipulator and engineer of the verse. Javier, with full resolve, said that right now, he was Lloyd Frontera. This guy became his master this time, with the same facial reactions and the same vibes. Let's pray that Javier will be able to pull this off, acting as his master. Javier went to Raphael, asking him about the information related to the heavenly realm. Raphael said that he had it and that he had heard some new information. Raphael said that the heavenly realm was thinking about summoning Sir Lloyd. Javier asked Raphael when that summon would happen. Raphael said that it was not time yet. He told Javier that the meeting among the higher-ups could drag on for a while. Javier was silent, maybe thinking that there was no time for that if he waited a little longer. Javier hurriedly grabbed the candle holder with 3 candles on it. Then, with 2 pieces of wood, he also made a religious relic and pasted it on the wall. After that, he swung his sword so fast that it created a fire, lighting up all the candles in the candelabrum. Then Javier knelt down, facing the altar he had improvised and made himself. Raphael asked him what he was doing this time. Javier replied, telling Raphael that he was praying. Javier told Raphael that it was once said they could submit an appeal if their prayers were pure and desperate. Javier asks him if that was what he meant. So Javier prays seriously. He prayed to the God of this world and told the God that there is no time. He prays to summon him quickly, immediately, as in right now, and he continuously repeats the word now more than 100 times. The angel who was listening was somewhat annoyed by Javier's prayer, as all he could hear was the word now, with Javier continuing to say it more than 100 more times. This guy was more desperate than his master for saying that. The angel who was listening, annoyed, said that the one calling him was a horrible customer, but he admitted that what Javier said was so pure and desperate that he couldn't ignore it. The angel, who was with the customer service representative in the heavenly realm, told the other angel to wait. He said that Javier wasn't even the owner of the truth jewel. He added that there was no need to summon Lloyd this time. Javier prayed that what he was doing was attendance via proxy. Then he repeated the phrase attendance via proxy more than 100 times again, and he also said that he needed it right now, repeating the word now again and again. The angels who were listening heard that desperate prayer from Javier. The angel holding the phone said that Javier was able to read the minds of the heavenly realm. He said that Javier was a horribly intelligent customer. Then something was summoned. It was not a stairway to heaven, but some sort of elevator with a bright light from the heavenly realm and songs from heaven. Javier said that was quite simple. Raphael was just speechless, watching how Javier bypassed the heavenly realm. Javier told Raphael that they needed to go. Raphael asked what he meant, if he meant that he wanted him to go with him too. Javier looked back at him, asking why he was asking, and Javier asked if the teleportation magic was meant for only one person. Raphael told Javier that wasn't it. Raphael looked to the side, maybe shy, and said the reason was that if he went to the heavenly realms, he would be reprimanded for swearing curse words, and he told Javier that he was honestly a little scared. But Javier's face this time turned into something similar to Lloyd's, the face he made when a decision was final. Javier grabbed Rafael and put him on his shoulder. Rafael asked Javier to wait and asked if he really needed to go along with him too. Even though he kept calling out to Javier, that guy didn't listen to him. Javier's face turned into something like that of a devil. The angelic Javier was gone now. Seeing Javier's face made Rafael go silent and sweat. Javier told Rafael that he signed the contract with Lloyd, and he also said that he would help them obtain the Eye of Summer. Javier told Rafael that they were going to get the Eye of Summer right now. Then Javier and Rafael rode the teleportation portal to the heavenly realm. Poor Rafael became the first victim of Javier's demon version. When both Javier and Rafael arrived in the heavenly realm, the one who welcomed them was the head administrator of the angels, Gabriel. Gabriel said to Javier that he was so reckless. Gabriel started to fix his glasses, maybe because he couldn't believe Javier's actions. Gabriel told Javier that he knew him and knew that Javier was a human with quite a noble personality. Javier, with a serious face, and the same face as his master, asked Gabriel if he couldn't appeal if he had a noble personality. Javier told Gabriel that he was speaking as if only boorish humans would submit appeals. Rafael was sweating after hearing the blunt words from Javier. This made Gabriel somewhat angry, and he warned Javier. He told Javier that what he said was highly depreciative towards appeals. Gabriel said that he understood Javier right now and told him that he apologized to him. Gabriel said that, first of all, he thinks that it seems Javier and his crew are greatly mistaken about something. Gabriel asks Javier if they knew just how dangerous the truth jewel is. Without letting Gabriel finish what he was about to say, Javier said that he agrees that the truth jewel is something that must not be built. Javier said that the heavenly realm's decision to demolish the truth jewel is quite reasonable. Gabriel was shocked to hear that from Javier after he had defended the building. Gabriel asks Javier what he means and asks him if he is going to demolish the truth jewel then. Javier said that they will demolish it. Now with the face of Lloyd, his master, and now he who acts like Lloyd, said something. He told Gabriel that he will demolish it with a condition. This guy became the master of schemes and negotiation like his master. Gabriel was stuttering, asking what condition. Javier said that he has one question that he would like to ask first. Javier asks Gabriel when exactly they found out that they were building the truth jewel. Gabriel starts thinking. He said that he thinks they probably figured it out around the Winter Heart incident. He said that he only received the report about it around when the construction had just begun. Hearing that made Javier slam the table. The head administrator was shocked by Javier's action. Javier glares at the angel and asks him why he is only telling them now about demolishing it after they have built it. Javier asks him seriously why they didn't tell them in advance not to build it. Javier asks him again if the heavenly realm wanted to surprise them or cause them to fall into despair. Gabriel starts sweating after hearing the question. Javier knows how to threaten now. Seeing this would make his master Lloyd proud. Then, like any other villain, Javier's glare could melt anyone this time. He told Gabriel that they must have been thinking to leave the mortals be because it seemed like a hassle, so they must have decided that they just needed to move if things got out of hand. Gabriel starts panting heavily, and his eyes were moving left and right as if Javier's words were 100% true. Gabriel thinks that this human in front of him can see through the thoughts he has hidden in the deepest recesses of his mind. Javier never stops glaring at him and asks him if what he said sounds about right. Gabriel could only bow down and cry and admit that it was what he had been thinking in the past. Gabriel was thinking that he cannot lie because he is an angel. Javier told Gabriel that, as a measure to protect the opportunity costs that they had wasted due to the dereliction of duty by the heavenly realms, he requests that the demolition of the truth jewel be delayed until after the restoration phenomenon of fate has been stopped. Gabriel starts holding his glasses, telling Javier that what he requested seems a little problematic. But without letting Gabriel finish his sentence, Javier glares at him once again. He asks Gabriel if he is going to disregard his request even though the dereliction of duty by the heavenly realms is what caused the suffering of the lower realm of humans. Javier said that the heavenly realm should be the same heavenly realm that is supposed to alleviate the suffering of the lower realm. Gabriel could only hold his head because of the pain it caused him from overthinking, because in this debate it is his complete loss. His enemy this time is the disciple of the greatest manipulator, who became the embodiment of Lloyd himself. Gabriel said that he agreed with him in return for making sure that they manage the situation well until it is over. Javier bows down and told Gabriel that he sincerely thanks him for his generosity. Gabriel was thinking that what Javier was showing were lies. He was thinking that he, who is the angel Gabriel, can't deceive his eyes of truth, but after using the eye of truth, Javier's aura was shining brightly. After seeing that, Gabriel starts to question himself if Javier is really thankful towards him. He thinks that Javier was so thankful to him that there is a halo of light and there is zero evil within his heart. Gabriel can't even find fault in Javier's words. Javier raised his fingers and said that there is a second condition that they need to meet. Gabriel starts thinking about it. Javier points his finger at Gabriel and says that they should bestow divine revelation upon the Magentano royal family through Raphael. He says to ask them to give Lloyd Frontera the Eye of Summer. Hearing that made Raphael start sweating out of shock, but Javier remained with his negotiation face. Hearing that made Gabriel lose his mind for a second. Gabriel slams the table and says that Javier has gone overboard with his request. Gabriel says that they already settled the negotiation for the compensation of time and effort just now. Javier asks Gabriel what he is suddenly talking about. Javier says that was just a measure to protect their opportunity costs. He says that this time, he is requesting for the damages to be compensated. Javier clenches his hand into his chest. He glares at Gabriel and says that he was so scared and fearful that he couldn't sleep for a few nights after finding out about their conflicts with the heavenly realms. He asks Gabriel to please compensate him for the damages that his heart suffered. Gabriel was shocked to hear that, asking what Javier meant this time. For Gabriel, what Javier was doing is basically trying to shake them down. For Gabriel, Javier seems way more evil than he seems. He was so horrible, but using the eye of truth, Gabriel starts to change his mind. He starts to question if Javier truly means it. Seeing the bright light, Gabriel could only think that Javier really suffered. Gabriel thinks that Javier's heart truly suffered a great deal, so compensation must be provided. This guy is scarier than his master. The master was saying 100% lies, but this guy is telling the truth 100% while making the face of his master. Javier could become a greater threat than his master. Javier becomes the number to Lloyd Frontera as he makes the same face as his master. But as Gabriel looks at Javier, he starts to question what is with the face that he is making. Gabriel thinks that this human he was thinking of inviting him to the heavens after he dies, but seeing Javier right now firsthand, he could only think that Javier is totally someone who comes from hell. Damn, this is the proudest character development for our boy Javier Asrahan. Let's go back to the place where the MC lived, in the Frontera estate. Someone knocks on the door of the room where Lloyd was resting. Lloyd asks them to please come in. The one who enters is the maidservant Emily, who is the daughter of Greg. Lloyd is still lying down, his eyes empty. Seeing Lloyd's state, Emily seems worried as she looks at her young master. Emily apologizes for disturbing Lloyd's rest. Lloyd starts to sit up, saying it's nothing and that it's fine. He asks Emily why she came in and what the matter is. Emily hesitates but eventually hands Lloyd an envelope with a letter inside. Depressed, Lloyd takes the letter. Emily tells him it's an invitation to her wedding. Smiling, Emily tells Lloyd she's getting married to Kuga. Lloyd opens the letter, which includes a handmade drawing just for him. Emily explains that it's a special wedding invitation made just for him and says she was only able to meet Kuga thanks to him. Lloyd remains silent, his eyes growing even emptier as he listens to Emily's story. Meanwhile, Emily is happy to be inviting Lloyd. She smiles and tells him that many things have changed in their county because of him and that everyone is really thankful to him. Lloyd remains silent for a moment before slowly managing a smile in front of Emily. He thanks her for saying that. Emily then picks up his blanket and tells him she'll get him a new one. Lloyd offers to open the door for her, but Emily insists that he rest. However, Lloyd insists on opening the door. He sees her out and congratulates her on her marriage. Though Lloyd smiles, it's clear from his face that he's already tired. Then, he shuts the door, slamming it. He falls to his knees. This guy still acts strong and okay in front of others to cheer them up, but he's actually already broken and weak. Lloyd wants to apologize to everyone because he feels he has let them down. All he ever wanted was for everyone to stay happy, but it pains him that he can no longer do anything for them. What remains in his mind is the Truth Jewel's revelation that either Lloyd Frontera or Javier Asfahan must die for their place to achieve peace. Losing hope, Lloyd starts to question if it's Javier who must die. But for him, there's no way the story's protagonist would be the one to die. Lloyd is a good friend. That must be why he didn't tell Javier about it, knowing that Javier would sacrifice his life for it. At that moment, as he neglects his own heart, the winter heart's effect begins freezing it. His heart is gradually freezing, and he feels the intense cold with each breath, as cold as ice. Eventually, he collapses to the floor in agony, groaning in pain. But there is no one there to witness his suffering, and Javier, the only one who knows, isn't by his side. Lloyd begins to think there must be another way. Since he's just an extra, he believes he should be the one to die. However, the window system rejects this, reminding Lloyd that his wish has not yet come true and urging him to live on. It tells him that he cannot accomplish anything if he doesn't keep going. As the system fades from Lloyd's sight, it slowly engulfs his body, and Lloyd begins to fade as well, alone in the dark chamber of his room, lying on the floor without hope or help. In the end, Lloyd closes his eyes as the system surrounds him. Whether the system sacrificed itself for him or not, they did Lloyd dirty, this legendary guy on the outside but soft-hearted within. Meanwhile, in another part of the continent, a large lobster appears, one of the lobsters Lloyd and Javier had once defeated, a monster called Giga Titan. Count Cremo watches from his mansion as these monsters reappear, shocked and starting to sweat as he sees not just one but a horde of Giga Titans arriving in the trading city of Cremo. On the other side of another world, something dark appeared. This is the place where Lloyd and Javier faced the Hell Knight. It's a cemetery located below the estate. That underground area begins to crack, with something breaking down below. In another part of the world led by the great Sultanate Samarkand, an incident is also reported. Samarkand asks his men who on earth dares to attack his land. A soldier responds that it seems to be infidels pretending to be people of God. He reports that they are setting fire indiscriminately to the palace and all facilities related to it, making them difficult to deal with. In the forest region of the Frontera estate, some crazed monsters chase down the animals living there. One elf questions where this endless number of beasts is coming from. Another elf comments that, at this rate, all the animals of the forest will run away again. Meanwhile, envoys under the command of Queen Alicia Magentano begin to report. They inform the Queen of a mass migration of monsters for unknown reasons and the appearance of a Giga Titan. They also mention the Isfahan rebel infidels. Hearing this troubles the Queen, who begins to question what is happening right now, wondering why all these strange events are occurring at the same time. I believe that the sudden appearance of monsters, creatures, and rebels might be related to Lloyd, as the one who could conquer them is on the verge of dying right now. Meanwhile, Javier is riding Yang Yang, traveling at full speed. With full speed, Yang Yang fly toward Magentano, carrying a large bag with an unknown item inside. Yang Yang arrives and drops the bag on the ground. Soldiers report Javier's arrival, informing their queen that the bodyguard knight of Lloyd Frontera, Javier Asrahan, requests an audience with the queen. Queen Alicia starts thinking, questioning why Javier is here without Lloyd. Perhaps the queen already misses her husband. Javier is permitted an audience with the queen, and he kneels before her. Javier introduces himself and says he pays respect to the rightful queen of their land. Queen Alicia is silent, looking at him, perhaps wondering why Javier is there without Lloyd, as he never moves without Lloyd's orders. Little does she know that Javier is now the new Lloyd. Queen Alicia straightforwardly asks Javier what he is up to this time. Javier pretends innocence, asking the queen what she means. The queen is silent, looking at Javier seriously. Gazing at Javier's face, which resembles an innocent puppy, she can find no fault this time. This is how deadly Javier is. While Lloyd's legendary face could scare hell knights and demons and reveal when he's lying, Javier's innocent face is so pure that no one suspects him. In the end, the queen can only sigh deeply and tells Javier to forget what she said. Queen Alicia asks Javier what he has come for this time. Javier explains that he's come because there are many rebars manufactured in their county that remain unused. Javier adds that he's wondering where they could be used and offers them to her for military purposes. However, the Queen's mind isn't on Javier's words. She's thinking about Lloyd. She's planning to torture Lloyd for daring to use a marriage with her, the Queen, as part of his deception toward the Elder Dragon Tyrannus. I don't know what kind of punishment she has in mind, but it must involve another spanking from the Queen herself. Suddenly, a bright light appears, alarming the Queen. She looks at the light and hears a kind of singing from the heavens resonating throughout the palace. The Queen begins to ask what is happening. Then a very bright light appeared, within which was the angel Raphael. The angel slowly descended from the heavenly realm, showing off both his halo and his wide wings that resemble those of a true angel. Duke Toscano and the other nobles in his faction were shocked to see an angel's appearance. Queen Alicia started sweating. Her eyes widened as she wondered why an angel was there. Raphael began his speech, addressing the Queen of the Magentano Kingdom as Madam Alicia before correcting himself and saying Alicia Termina Magentano. He stated that he had come to discuss something, then corrected himself again, saying he was there to bestow Alicia with the will of the heavens. Raphael called her Madam once more, quickly retracting it to say Alicia. He kept stuttering, almost as if he were lying. Raphael told Alicia to immediately give the Eye of Summer to Lloyd Frontera. Then, Raphael's face started to change, as if someone were pulling him upward. In reality, he was pulled up by the teleportation of the heavenly realm, rising at great speed, and finally vanished into the air. Many thoughts crossed Queen Alicia's mind as a result. She found the event to be random and suspicious, suspecting it might be a prank orchestrated by Lloyd. She began to wonder what Lloyd could be planning again. Little did she know, the mastermind wasn't Lloyd, but Javier, who was acting as Lloyd's proxy this time. She called Javier Asrahan and asked him to be honest, wanting to know if Lloyd was connected to the angel. But she stopped questioning when she saw Javier's face, sweating and shaking in shock, as if he had seen an angel for the first time. Queen Alicia called Javier again, but he didn't respond. Seeing his reaction, Queen Alicia thought that maybe it hadn't been a prank after all. Javier was putting on an act worthy of an Oscar nomination, as expected of Lloyd's bodyguard. Lloyd would surely be proud. Duke Toscano then addressed the Queen, claiming it was a revelation from God and asking her to prepare the Eye of Summer. Although this Duke was a former villain, he seemed to believe in the will of heaven. Queen Alicia pondered the Duke's words, but other nobles began to voice their opinions. One noble pointed out that the Eye of Summer was their last weapon, especially now that they didn't have the Winter Heart, and asked how they could simply give it away. Another noble added that he had noticed the angel stuttering and was certain he was fake. Another noble shouted, reminding them of the angel's wings and halo, noting that his voice had resonated throughout the palace, something only an angel could do. Nobles from the opposing side argued that even if he was an angel, the will of the heavenly realm would bring turmoil to their kingdom's peace. The debate grew louder, with both sides shouting. One noble in support of the angel's message said they should consult the holy book, arguing that angels don't lie. But the mastermind behind the debate, who had learned from the greatest strategist Lloyd Frontera, simply watched as the two sides argued. Perhaps he was plotting something like his master. Rewinding to before this scene, Gabriel asked Javier if he was truly requesting the heavenly realm to lie. Gabriel explained that by nature, angels can't lie to people, and he couldn't accept such a request. Javier replied that he didn't understand Gabriel's hesitation and asked which part was a lie. Gabriel asked him to wait and then questioned what he meant. Javier glared at Gabriel as if he were a villain and said it wasn't about the kingdom's prosperity or avoiding a curse. All Gabriel had to do was tell the Queen to hand it over, and they wouldn't be lying to anyone. Back in the present, the debate continued as the Queen sat silently, thinking deeply. Javier remained quiet, observing the situation. For Javier, everything had gone according to plan so far, and now the only thing left was to trust in the Queen. But the Queen's loyalty was to Lloyd Frontera, and it was uncertain what would happen next. This would surely be exciting.